Hello and welcome to the Smart Women Business Vlog and Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Mackay from Jay Mackay Communications, marketing consultant and coach who works with women across the world to build the business of their dreams. Today, I'm talking to Natasha Stewart, powerhouse and mother of four at the helm of Business Jump, an online business that has helped hundreds of mothers jumpstart their dreams of running a profitable business from home. Nat's popular Facebook group and How I Know Her, Remarkable Business Mums, has also helped thousands of like-minded business women in some way or another by sharing their stories, expertise and realness. Nat shares and documents in there on a daily basis, and your sharing is just so incredibly, I don't know, it's real and it's raw and it's how people get to know you. And it's something that I talk about with my clients all the time. And you're an example, like, don't be afraid of sharing.
Yeah.
So
it's the ability that creates the connection.
Yeah.
But hi, thank you for having me.
I feel like we've come so far already. So tell me about your business story, because you've had quite an adventure.
Yes, I have. So I've always been quite entrepreneurial. I remember 19, 20, 21, just dreaming about the type of life that I wanted to have. And that was when I was studying visual communications. I didn't realize how it was going to look at this at the time, but I just could feel it. I just knew that there was always going to be a big story. And I sort of fumbled my way through my early 20s, always had a business on the side or was trying to get something up, utilizing my website design skills. And then really when my daughter was born, that's when I started to get more serious, but I was still working on the side. I tried to re-enter the workforce, and I got a job after having to take my wedding ring off, and I had to stop talking about the fact that I just had a baby and that she was one at the time. The minute that I did that, I actually got the job, but it sort of backfired because not too much longer after I was fired, I wasn't given any warning or any reasons. However, I just always got really uncomfortable vibes anytime I had to go pick my daughter up from daycare because she was sick. I really struggled with that juggle, trying to manage a job and a baby at the same time. It's like you're so conflicted, and the guilt was just horrendous of trying to manage all of that. And I just remember in the car on the way home after that, just getting really real with myself and saying to myself, I've always known that, there's something more and it's time to stop playing small. And that was really the T intersection for me that set everything off.
And we're back from a minor technical glitch. So I was saying that I think every mother who works knows that there's that expectation, there's that guilt that you work like you don't have kids and you mother like you don't work. Mm-hmm. And I've said this before on the pod, is that I have so much respect for women who manage to juggle the school holidays, who work in a conventional job, because I don't even know the logistical nightmare of that 13 weeks a year is the reason I've never gone and got a real job.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, even with the flexibility that I have with my business now, I still find it a struggle. And it's not just the physical logistics side of managing school holidays, but it's also the emotional and mental load of it as well. So it's tough out there.
It's huge. And it's just like the days when you're trying to work and the kids are like, Mom, you're like, shh, Mummy's got to work. And you're just like, oh my God, like, when will it end? And I don't know if it ever will. But anyway, we struggle on through. So how did you get to where you are now in your business? And what were the signs it was time to evolve? Because it always changes. It's always changing.
Yeah, it does. I think complete and utter burnout and depletion. So I did what I see pretty much 99% of people who are starting a business do, which is worked myself into the ground to try and get a business up and running around by this. So I had a few, but really, if we're talking about when Business Jump started to come to life. I had 2 kids by that stage. And in my other businesses, before I shut them down, I was working until 2 o'clock in the morning. I was so depleted. I was so burned out. I had postnatal depression from my second, and I just crashed and burned. And I basically wound everything down, minimized everything, and really took some time to heal and to just reset myself. And as I was coming back up for air, I just had this epiphany that I can't, I got out of working in a full-time job for similar but different reasons. There was a lot of, synergies there. But I had almost created the same thing, but just in a different way in a business. And I sold those businesses, and I realized that when I sold them, I actually had a really good skill set with my web design and my design experience. And I'm the type of person that can always think of ideas. I always have like 10 business ideas that I want to start. And I can't explain it. It just all unfolded. And I just sort of had the epiphany that actually I've just sold these businesses. I could also set another business up and sell it. And that was really how Business Jump started. But I knew that I didn't want to burn myself into the ground this time. So probably just from listening to podcasts, because I went on a huge sort of learning adventure as well. I was constantly absorbing content in terms of videos and podcasts and reading. And it was just like little bells that started to go off about, work smarter, not harder gets thrown around so much, like that it's lost its sort of meaning, but actually it has a lot of meaning and potential, like it's incredible once you actually think about it. And I guess through P&D and through that depression, I just realized that, if I'm going to do this, it has to be sustainable, and I can't burn myself into the ground. And I'm just going to have to learn how to be a bit smarter this time around, because I didn't want to give up my sleep anymore for a child or a business.
So important. And you don't realize how important until you're not getting any.
Yes. Yeah. That's fun, isn't it?
It's not a way to live. And so many people go into a business and then become employees in their own business. It's like, but without all the benefits of being an employee, like sick leave and holiday leave. And you're like, what am I doing? Like, it's not the way to live. We talk about lifestyle businesses gets thrown around a lot.
Yeah.
And one of my coaches talks about working 4 hours a day, 4 days a week, 44 weeks a year. And I'm like, oh, that's a nice goal.
Yeah.
But you need to have systems and efficiencies in place.
Yeah.
So that you can do that.
Yeah. 100%.
It doesn't just happen by magic.
Yeah, it's entirely possible though, like entirely possible. I have, with my business, it ebbs and flows, and I'm a bit of a natural workaholic. So I need to be really mindful, because I would easily work 10 hours a day. I really do love what I do. But I also really have learned and set the intention that actually the less I work, the more productive I am. It's when I'm out for a bushwalk, or when I'm in the shower, or when I'm actually away from the computer screen, that words will start to flow to me and ideas will start to flow to me. So I need to be really careful of that balance, because my sort of natural instinct is just to work 1,000 miles an hour, but actually I become less productive, and I need to pull myself back and away from the screen. And that's where I find a really beautiful flow of work.
Yeah, that creativity that strikes. For me, it's always at the washing line. I don't know why. I was just hanging out the washing, and it's that moving meditation, that sort of brain clearing. That's where voice to text on your phone comes in handy.
Yes, definitely.
So, or on the school drive to school pickup, which then I can't use my phone. So anyway, now you have an incredible, beautiful family, which was the lovely addition of twins just a couple of years ago. So how do you manage your life as an entrepreneur and a mother to 4?
Honestly, daycare 5 days. Like, I can't sit here.
Hashtag no guilt.
Yeah, I can't sit here and pretend that like I have any super magic tricks and that like I get it all done. In fact, my magic trick is that I don't get it all done. I do a lot of things half-assed. I take a lot of shortcuts.
The socks.
Yeah.
There was Nat told this beautiful story about how your childcare person, whose name I can't remember, complained that one of her twins was going to childcare without matching socks. It's like, the socks don't matter. Like,
Yeah.
she's got socks on. She's got warm toes.
Yeah. My kids are always wearing mismatched socks. We have Cocoa Pops for dinner more often than I would like to admit. My theory is they get fed well at daycare. I'm paying for them to go 5 days. It's really hard. Like, it's really hard being a mother to 4 kids, like, just honestly, because I have one in the high school spectrum. She's just started year 7, and then I have toddler twins, and then I have a beautiful sensitive boy that's in the middle, and my energy just gets depleted from bouncing between them. And then most of the time my business lights me up, like, that gives me energy. But I've just come to the conclusion that I do not have enough mind power to give every single thing to motherhood, to give every single thing to my business, to give every single thing to, you know, every single facet in my life. So I take lots of shortcuts.
Yeah. And you're not going to be able to do everything well all the time.
Yeah.
Like, that's motherhood. It's about priorities and yeah, I love a breakfast for dinner. I'll be like, hey kids, you want bacon and eggs for dinner? They're like, yes.
Yeah. 100%. And, you know, I think that's fine, because we're not, I mean, like, we are, in a sense, sometimes we actually are super women, because we do a lot of incredible stuff to get by during the day, but we're not invincible. And we also have our own limits and our own breaking points. And hey, if it's Wheat Bix or Cocoa Pops for dinner, that means that we've got enough energy to then, you know, put the kids to bed and, you know, do that in a loving, present way in the moment, then so be it.
Then yeah, otherwise you just end up frazzled and cranky, and it's much better for the kids to not have a frazzled, cranky mum, and mum takes shortcuts. Who cares? Like, your kids are warm, they're fed, they're loved. That's what a friend of mine's about to have her first child, and she's like, how am I going to do it? I'm like, if they're fed and they're warm and they're loved, and that's all you manage for the whole day, that's it, you're done, you know.
No one likes a ragey nut, trust me. So I do whatever I can just to stay at peace and keep I just go for harmony over balance as well. As long as everyone's happy, as long as they know they're loved and safe, then, you know, anything extra is a bonus.
If you manage to read a book to them, done. I'm on fire.
Mum of the Year award.
So what does a great day at the office look like for you?
A great day for me. So with my kid's dad, I do the mornings, and he does the mornings. So he'll get them off to school, get them up, get them off to school, and do all the morning stuff. And then they're at daycare and they're at school. And then I do the afternoons. So I do pick up, dinner, get them to bed, all that type of stuff. So for me, a great day is getting up at about 5 and going to yoga. And basically that's when I reset my nervous system from the afternoon before, because you know, I think all mums know that the afternoons and the evenings and the witching hour and just cranky, tired kids, I just feel myself so hunched up and just so like stressed from going through that motion that I just go to yoga, and that just resets and regrounds me. And then it's getting to the office after that, like 7 or 7:30, and really just putting my music on and working in the flow. So for me, when I'm working in the flow, it's when I just feel really creative. Words are coming to me. It might be writing content or doing strategy, checking in with the team, doing emails, reviewing and approving things. I work on a profit producing tasks first priority type of list. And then towards the end of the day, I just do the things that I don't need as much brain power for, that I just need to tick off and, you know, stop them from bottlenecking my business. So that's a perfect day for me.
So how have you gone through, as you've refined your business, because it is that process of refinement, of identifying those tasks that are the profit making and then the bottlenecks, because we're often the bottleneck in our business and we don't see it. So how do you help yourself and your clients overcome that?
For me, my business is fairly segmented. So my team look after all of the work in progress type of stuff. They look after all of this, the clients, and they're the ones that are responsible for getting the work done and delivering it. And sometimes that can be a massive bottleneck for people in business, because when you're having to fulfill and deliver that work, you can't work on the sales and profit producing areas of the business. So really, really early on, literally within a few months, I moved myself out of that and I started hiring a team, because I knew that I had to be in the driver's seat. So I knew that I had to be, I mean, like, I don't like calling it sales and strategy, because for me, it's more about connection and providing value. But that's where I knew that I needed to be in order to scale. So yeah, I literally just forgot what your question was.
And I was talking about identifying the bottlenecks and the profit finding. Yeah, so you've answered.
So for me, anything that is a bottleneck is something that is not going to correlate directly to a profit or incoming lead, but it could hinder it. So I mean, an example might be that there's something wrong with my emails and they're not getting sent, which actually is the biggest pain in my butt all the time. And then so I need to unpick why. So that would be like a bottleneck for me.
Yeah. And it's funny because it's really, it's why we work with coaches or mentors, is because it's easy to see those things from the outside looking in.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to see them when you're in.
Really.
I was listening or reading or watching, as I'm like you, I consume a lot of content. I was listening or reading or watching something the other day that said you should spend only 25% of your time in client delivery and 75% of time in that profit making, the sales. Sales and strategy, but really, as you say, it's all content's about creating connection and being strategic. So that's what we do.
Yeah, I agree, exactly the same. I was 80-20, but I don't know where I got that figure from. I think I just pulled it out of thin air and I was like, hey, this is what I'm going to go with. Yeah, I'll take it. But I mean, it just makes sense, right? Like, if you're not in the profit producing areas, if you're in something that is just actually delivering work, then you're not bringing in new work. And that's a huge challenge to overcome, particularly in service-based businesses, is people just cap out on time and they hit a ceiling. However, my business is a service-based business, but the way that I've constructed it is quite different from what I see most of other service-based businesses out there. In fact, that I have a team that handle the majority for me, so I can stay in those profit producing and sales and strategy areas. And that's where my strengths are. I'm really bad at being organized, at details, analytics. Like, my team are always coming to me saying, why didn't you tell me that you changed the password to Instagram? And I'm like, sorry.
Oh, was I meant to tell you that? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I was like, can't you just read my mind and guess?
Funny.
So yeah, and just positioning myself in the areas where I'm strong at and not beating myself up for not being good at being too organized or, things like that, because I've accommodated that with the team.
It's interesting that because when you're in startup, you have a tendency to just take on all the work in service, because I work generally with service-based businesses, so take on all the jobs, and then there's a transition point, a tipping point, where your time becomes more valuable for your money than money. And that's when business owners should build a team. And obviously you came to that point very early, and instead of remaining in that time for money, impossible to scale situation, you transitioned over into, right, I'm going to have a team, I'm just going to live in my zone of genius, which is like the goal really for most service-based businesses.
100%. It sounds easy though, right? But there's actually a lot of mindset that we need to work through that as well. And one of the biggest things that I see is people, and I've also experienced this as well, is that we just feel that sometimes they won't do as good a job as what we can when we're trying to outsource. So there's a lot of mindset sort of strings to cut in order to make that flip, as well as the physical side of just, hiring someone as
documenting processes. So what tools do you then use daily with your team to make that as easy as possible for you?
Yeah, so my team, everyone that is on my team at the moment have been with me for about 4 years now. And we actually just chat by Facebook Messenger. Like, I don't use Slack. We don't have anything super, super fancy for communication. We've always just found that that is what works best for us. We do use Asana though for the project management, so that I can go into Asana at any time and see where a job is up to. And if it's important notes, if it's important communication, then it will be noted in Asana. The Facebook Messenger is just more for like the day-to-day chat, but we use Asana for anything important that needs to be logged. We also use Active Campaign, so that does a lot of the onboarding and offboarding, a lot of the lead gen. I use Zapier quite a lot as well. And Google Drive. Everything's just stored on the Google Drive. So
I love Google Drive.
Yeah, I don't think that like we use anything too fancy. I think that it's just, you know, all pretty standard business stuff.
Yeah. But a lot of people don't use tools.
Yeah.
So automation is one of the keys to scale.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm in a Slack for one of the projects that I'm involved in, and it's just constant.
Yeah.
And it's like it would be logging in. It's like just as easy on Facebook Messenger. It's the same deal.
I think so. I mean, anything that I need to approve, the team know just to email it to me, because I just sort of work off my email. If they were to put that into Facebook Messenger, that would get lost. I mean, they could put it in Asana too. I know they sort of want to, but I don't know. I just like using my email because I just, you know, go through my emails and then I know I've got everything done. So I guess I just try to minimize and narrow everything, but for their approvals, because I do have people on the team that will approve things on behalf of me as well for the more lower level general stuff. They do use Asana for that, but I guess I'm cheating the system and told them just email me instead.
It's fine. I love, because email for me is like the last bastion. Like that's where all the important stuff is, and you can download it and archive it, and you know. It's where it's all the important stuff goes. So one of the things that I always talk about is imposter syndrome and dealing with the bad days in business. What do you have tools? Do you just sit in a puddle and cry?
Oh my God.
Some days.
Let me get my book out and tell you about all my bad days. No, particularly, I mean, there are two things for me, right? Like imposter syndrome and bad days. Business Jump grew so fast within the first year or two, and that triggered all of my shadow work, my insecurities, my imposter syndrome. I really didn't think that I did anything to contribute to it, which is sort of funny now because like, of course I did. But at the time it was very hard, and Remarkables grew really fast as well. And it really took me back to high school for a little while there in the early days, in that I felt like I was back at school, not necessarily because, I mean, you know, you get your crazy comments and your crazy people and things like that, but I just felt very like a bit scared of being judged or saying the wrong thing or looking like an idiot. I managed to push past that, and I just kept on posting anyway. And it took me quite a while, probably didn't come into my stride until maybe the third year of Business Jump, where if I got like a weird comment or someone that didn't agree with me or someone that didn't understand what I was saying, or, you know, just anything, took me, a long time just to go, but that's on you. And and your perception and your opinion of me doesn't mean that it's right or true. And how do I know you're not some crazy psychopath that, you know, is like the biggest weirdo in the whole world? Like, if I knew that, would I then care about your opinion? Like, so it was a massive inner growth journey and personal development journey to go from feeling very insecure in my business and about putting myself out there to now generally 99% of the time just really not giving a shit if someone has an issue with something that I've said or done. I think it's important just to quickly check ourselves, because we don't want to be sociopaths either.
Yeah.
But, you know, a quick check. No, I'm good. Okay. That's, you know, bye-bye.
Yeah. It's, and that's what I say to my daughter, just because someone says something about you doesn't make it true.
Yeah.
And that's a really weird thing for us to try and reconcile in our brains.
Yeah.
Because we're social, we didn't grow up with social. You know, and it's I can't remember how long it's been around, 15 years or something, and it's still not like digital natives different, but it still can really trigger people. And there's this weird overwhelming need to be right, and that plays out on social all the time. It's like, why do you feel compelled to make me agree with you? And trying to overcome that and just go, you know what, let it go. That takes a bit of maturity as well too, and self-awareness.
And perspective as well. I think sometimes people just savage each other because of that need and desire to be right. But I think under the surface, there's some type of insecurity or fear or doubt or, you know, wound that they have. They don't realize it, but it's been triggered. And once I came around to that type of awareness, it really just disengaged any type of emotion that I felt back to that person,
which is liberating.
Yeah, it's really nice.
I'm don't know if I'm quite there yet, but anyway, I probably haven't been trolled as hard as you. A friend of mine said the other day, you're not successful until you've been trolled or sued. And I'm like, oh God.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Well, you know, I definitely hear it as well. But yeah, I've had some really nasty things said, like, I'm not sure whether you saw the sue your life thing the other day.
I'm going to sue your life. It's like, what?
But I love that I can just laugh about that now. I would have, you know, if this was in my first year or two of business, I would have been like in a straitjacket, like.
And your adrenaline gets going, your heart starts thumping, you're like, response.
Yeah, and you feel so compelled to reply and get defensive. And now I'm just like delete and block. And it was actually great to have a laugh about it.
It was very funny. This lady threatened to sue Nat, sue her life. Because she couldn't work out how to unsubscribe from this. Sorry if you've ever been in that problem, but it's generally a very easy thing to do.
The link's just at the bottom of the email.
Keep sending me emails. Just unsubscribe
for you.
I'll just remove you from my list. Oh my gosh. So I ask everyone this question, but obviously you've got a huge Facebook group, of which there is this incredible sense of community. But how do you maintain your sense of community, possibly beyond your group, because group is work, potentially? How do
you mean, like, community is in friends and family?
Well, how do you feel connected to the greater world when, like, it's like we work online?
Yeah.
I can go days without seeing another grown-up.
Yeah. Well, I'm an introvert, so I actually love working by myself. I think that helps me a lot. I think if I were an extrovert, it would be a much bigger problem for me. But in terms of feeling connected, I keep everything in my life pretty minimal. So I really just focus on my bestest friends. And, you know, catching up with them is what makes me feel connected and happy, particularly my two best friends. We do dinner quite regularly. So for me, connection comes through those close relationships, and just spending, even if it's just 10 minutes at the end of the day, just like, I mean, I'll sit with my twins and we'll watch In the Night Garden.
Oh, that makes me so tired.
Yeah. I know.
The music, I immediately go, oh, I'm just going to go to sleep with Eagle Pickle.
Yeah. Good night, Eagle Pickle. Just with them sitting with me and having their bottles, just even if I haven't spent any time with them, even if it's actually only 5 minutes, but just that connection there. And then in terms of connection with myself, it's really just For me, finding quietness and stillness, because as you know, the online world, it can get so noisy, and it's really easy to sit here and say, I don't really care too much for people's judgments online, but I think subconsciously it still seeps in maybe on some level as well. So for me, again, connection to myself is going to yoga, it's going for a bushwalk with my dog, it's going for a swim at the beach, it's just doing something that restores my energy.
And it's that, you're right, that online world is so noisy, and the amount of information that we receive every day is astronomical, and I just don't think as humans we're actually necessarily equipped to deal with that. And that's why we have sleep issues and attention issues and anxiety and all of those things that they've always been there, but I think they've accelerated with the way the world is now. So just smelling your kid's head, it's like, I love you.
As long as they're not annoying me.
I have a 6-year-old boy, he's full on. He's nearly 7 now. It goes so fast. So what's your why? What keeps you motivated?
I think I just have a knowing that I want to help and serve people. I also am the type of person that I really need freedom in my life. I was never cut out to work for someone else. It made me twitchy. I don't like being bossed around. But I think it goes beyond that. I think deep down, the reason why I write so much about mental health and about just being real is because, and that's actually probably another way to answer your question from a second ago, is because it actually makes me feel connected as well. But maybe that's more connection to the online world or to other people. I don't know. But that's just what lights me up. So
I love it when so I block out Mondays and Fridays for content, and like Friday I was like in flow, and it was just like, it's such a beautiful feeling. And you know that when you're producing some really like big pieces of content or connected pieces of content, really honest pieces of content, someone's going to benefit from reading that and feel helped, and maybe you just get them one step along the path to where they want to be through that.
I've always just gone with the like, I don't know what it is, but the thought process of, even if it's just one person that it makes a difference to, because sometimes it can be easy to, and particularly in the earlier days, to look at the likes, to look at the comments, to look at the engagement. But I just resolved that in myself by saying to myself, you know what, if it's helped one person, then that's all I care about. And I absolutely love getting private messages or and comments, but if someone just says, you know what, I really needed that today, it's just like, oh, that's so nice. That's what I love.
That's what I'm here for.
I'm glad my misery could help you. I'm glad it's got a purpose.
But it's funny because that writing through misery helps you process the misery.
I'm writing for myself a lot of the time.
That's how my whole business started, was I was writing a blog for myself because I was in a job I didn't like and I was so bored. I just started writing, and it was like an old WordPress.com blog, and people were like, can you do some writing for me? And that was 12 years ago.
Do you know, I think it's almost the best way, because there's no pressure, is there? I see so many people get hung up about trying to write something that they think is going to engage other people, impress other people. They're worried about whether they're going to get judged or not. But I think that if you just write from yourself, that's when it's going to be the most transparent and the most authentic and the most vulnerable. And that's like your secret, like, potion, isn't it?
That's exactly what I was writing about on Friday. One day I will put that blog, I'll share that blog on Monday, share fave posts in Remarkable Business Moms, because it's when you get that, because if you're coming from a place where you're trying to sound like someone else and all the cookie cutters and all the incredibly successful women that we see, you're just in a sea of sameness where you're trying to compete with the big fish, and you just, your voice doesn't stand out, and that's when anyway. Writers, we could talk all day about writing. So what are your tips then for the smart women in business across Australia and the world? And I think we've just tapped into one of them.
Tips for just business or anything?
Tips, for, well, anyone, any fave tips?
Yeah, my biggest tip is start with yourself first before business, or if you're in business and feeling stuck or overwhelmed or not sure, or even if things are coasting along, for me, every single day I'm constantly focusing on restoring my energy. So I really try to avoid ever sitting down at the computer where I'm just feeling completely frazzled and overwhelmed and stressed out. And I always try to get myself to a certain point where I'm at least enough to be able to sit down and feel like I can be productive. I feel like it's really, really easy to try and work in a state where we're not really paying attention to where our energy's at, where our creativity's at, where our emotions are at. And that's just going to mean that, if we're writing a blog, it's going to take 10 hours instead of 3 hours. It's just going to double and triple all the time and effort. And then if we're talking about from the perspective of mums, you can just see how that is like such trying to push,
push through. When in fact, if you just went off and had a 30-minute nap and came back, you'd probably feel heaps better.
Yeah. Or a meditation or yoga, or just breathing for 5 minutes or even 5 seconds, So my biggest tip is just always start with self first. And then within that, it's also, I believe, about doing the inner work as well. So if someone does comment something and you get triggered, it's like, why are you getting triggered? And then that might mean something. And then it's like, okay, well, why does that mean something? And then where did that come from? And there's a lot of healing that we can do. I always say that business is just as much a personal development journey as it is a business journey.
Yeah.
And I think that once we do that healing and we do the inner work, it means that we're a lot more sustainable and robust to be able to handle those challenges that we get thrown, and to be able to sort of go with the path of the least resistance in business, instead of feeling like we're trying to swim up against the stream instead of down the stream.
We feel that it has to be hard, and it doesn't.
No, it actually really doesn't. But I don't think that it's, correct me if you think I'm wrong. It took me a while to figure it out, but I don't necessarily think that it's a common knowledge to actually look after and honor ourselves as part of the business equation.
It's exactly what I keep saying. And I was talking about it yesterday. It may have been in your group, I can't remember, but you are the most valuable asset in your business. And I've burned out, you've burned out at various stages of our business. If you do that, coming back from that takes years. Months, years. And you need to put in place protection for you. But, meditation is my go-to, but and coming into self and being centered and feeling energetically stable allows you to show up in your business and show up for your clients in a lot more healthy and expansive and creative and strategic way than if you're pushing through bad stuff all the time.
100%. It's a fact that our IQ lowers when we're stressed out. And again, as mums, we've got limited time, we've got limited bandwidth. So why wouldn't we go for those areas where we can tap into to be more productive, to be more efficient? And it really just all tracks back to our energy, and the type of thoughts and the type of actions and the type of intentions that we're putting out, and working from a perspective of attracting things into us rather than trying to project and chase. And once I was able to flip that and flip my energy to being more of a magnet, and instead of getting all frazzled, just having this inner knowing that everything was going to be okay, I was always exactly where I'm meant to be, and keeping my energy as best as I can, because it does get very depleted still with 4 kids. But keeping my energy just in this really nice, beautiful state of flow, then you can co-create with the universe anything. Once you have that type of grounding and foundation.
And it takes work. It's not a one meditation and you're good. It's constant. I love it. Thank you. How can listeners find out more about you and your work?
Well, they can pop over to Remarkable Business Mums on Facebook and join my Facebook group, or they can jump over to businessjump.co.au if they want to find out more information about having us help them start a business.
Brilliant. Thank you. I'll put all the links in the show notes, and thank you so much for your time today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.